Man, it's still snowing out there. Friday, January 19th, to be precise, of this recording of this video. And as you can see, a couch. Yes, a new couch has been added to my side of the house. So, yay. I even got a big chair right, of course, a little bit near the other side over there. But, yep. My main other chairs that I've been using are kind of off now to the side in the dining rooms. The lamp is still over there in its corner, but it's now... I've got a couch now and a big chair for me to relax. And maybe even company. But, well, that is basically it. Just a little bit of an update for that. But today, throughout this cold day on the snowy day, and after waiting for the results of the winners of the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice, and the nominations for the Screen Actors Guild, Directors Guild, Producers Guild, and the BAFTAs, and the Independent Spirit Awards months prior, it is now finally time to submit my final Oscar nomination predictions for the films of 2023 on January 2024. Yes, that is right. I am going to be going through all 23, unless if I accidentally said 24 again, but it is 23 specifically, all the categories. We're done predicting like just the big 8 on their own. It's now everything. The shorts, the featured films, all the technical categories, and then of course wrapping it up with the big 8. Now the nominations will be announced on January 23rd, but as always, because of real life obligations, I can't really watch the nominations live unless we have a bad snowstorm here in central Pennsylvania. I don't know how that will be, but that would be a miracle, but I don't want to go back out shoveling. It's freaking cold outside. And yeah, so it will be taking place on Tuesday, and the two people that will be announcing it were Zazie Beetz, who you might know, she's in the Joker movie, and she will be in again in the upcoming sequel, and Jack Quaid, the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. And they will be announced at the Samuel Golden Theater in Beverly Hills. Now, if you have seen my prediction videos throughout August all the way up through December, I usually reverse the big 8 predictions, because a lot of people usually start with picture, director, and then they go all the way down. I start reverse by going screenplay, acting, directing, and best picture. But for the final nomination predictions, this is usually a tradition I usually do, I go by the order of last year's announcement video for my final prediction. So basically, the one with Riz Ahmed and Allison Williams did last year, that order of the categories they announced, I will be going through that. And then I will be doing all that in a weird order. I know that seems odd, but I want to be creative here. I don't want to be like a little bit bland like almost everyone else does, or just simple. So yeah, and then after we finish wrapping Best Picture, I will show you guys a little prediction of what I think of how many nominations each of the films have gotten. But before we do that, I do actually have to bring up something that is going to be a massive question mark. That is, how many nominations are Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things are going to have? Because these 4 films could potentially all get double-digit nominations. This could be, we might be seeing again like in 2019, when The Irishman, Joker, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood all got double-digit nominations. There is a possibility all 4 of those films could do it, and all the branches just could be, in the technical categories, could be lazy instead of going Inspire. Not much in the Big 8, because that's its own thing, but we'll see how much favoritism they have for all 4 of those movies, and see if any of the other films, like how Anatomy of a Fall and The Holdovers and The Zone of Interest and Maestro did at the BAFTAs, with American Fiction and Past Lives kind of being in there. So yeah, you might know what the 10 I'm going to be going with, so that's a little bit of a spoiler, but, well, I think it is now time. So we start this up. If you go by the nomination announcement from last year, we're going to be starting this up with one of the big ones, Best Supporting Actress. I have Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple, Sandra Hüller in The Zone of Interest, Rosamund Pike in Saltburn, and Divine Joy Randolph in The Holdovers. So, Blunt, Brooks, and Randolph have all appeared everywhere else. Even if The Color Purple is struggling for the Best Picture slot, Brooks still made it, but if there is a possibility she could be a big snub if The Color Purple is going to get shut out, that would be kind of shocking. Pike, I do think if there is going to be a place where Saltburn is going to show up, it will most likely be here. I know Barry Keoghan's also kind of the edge for the actor slot, maybe original screenplay, and it is on the shortlist for original score, but I think Pike is going to be the most likely one to get her a second nomination for her career. And I think a lot of people are probably now predicting this, that Sandra Hüller is most likely going to be a double-digit nominee. So, the first time since Scarlett Johansson getting double nominated for both supporting and leading for the same year. I was a little bit hesitant on that, but BAFTAs did it, so yeah. The one I did knock out that I almost think could actually get in here is America Ferrera in Barbie, which I actually had last month because I thought, oh, they're going to be all in on Barbie. Not also that she missed SAG and BAFTA, of course, which is a big deal, but also here's the thing. If you basically get this hashtag See Her award at the Critics' Choice Awards, you're basically not going to get an Oscar nomination. That's what happened to Claire Foy. That's what happened to Janelle Monáe. I know you could say the difference with Gal Gadot and Kristen Bell. I forgot who was for 2020. But yeah, if you basically get the See Her award, and if you're in a massive Oscar player contention for a movie, you're most likely not going to get nominated. So that's why I don't have Ferrera in here. I don't know why I said Blunt, but yeah. Jodie Foster, although she did miss at BAFTA, that is not going to happen because I don't feel like Nyad's not going to be a big industry movie compared to unless the Actors Branch really love her to make it up for her snub from the Mauritanian a few years back. But I don't think so. If she does, that would be her first nomination since Nell. So we're looking at only one previous nominee, but 4 first-time nominees, with one of them getting a second in the same day, especially for the career for Emily Blunt. Now we're going to be kind of going into a bit of a lazy territory here in some of the technical categories, because you're almost going to be basically seeing 4 of the same movies in almost every technical category, and pretty much they're not going to go big inspired, and that's costume design. I have Barbie, The Color Purple, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. The only film I think would be in the edge is Napoleon, with Wonka kind of behind. If Wonka did made it at BAFTA, which I'm surprised that underperformed over there at the BAFTAs, because they love Paul King much with the Paddington movies, but only nominated for British films, so it's just Wonka's probably not going to be a movie for everyone. I think just probably no one didn't really ask for that. So, but although I am really going to be watching that, if it doesn't get nominated, then when it is available digitally, I will be able to watch Wonka, because since I obviously have devotion, pride for the original 71 film. So, nope, this could be the only one of the few categories Napoleon could actually get nominated here. So, but I think even after when the Costumes Guild snubbed it, I think the SAG Ensemble nomination for The Color Purple, I have to at least put it somewhere else. And with Fantasia Barrino getting in for actress at BAFTA, I think this is the place where The Color Purple we get outside of Brooks. On to sound. I have got Ferrari, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest. So, based on the short list, I actually did have Barbie in here because I think the soundtrack alone would get it in. But that would be like when I was trying to predict Everything Everywhere All at Once to get in here last year, and that didn't happen. I know The Power of the Dog did. But if Barbie gets in here, you know they are going to try to get Barbie a double-digit nominations. Other possibilities, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, and I believe Napoleon got in at BAFTAs, and then you have The Creator and The Killer that are just here. So, Barbie's kind of the edge of the 6th slot, because obviously Oppenheimer, Maestro, and Zone of Interest are staying. I think Killers is also going to stay. Ferrari, after getting that BAFTA nomination, and how it is kind of a weird performance throughout the season, even getting in for SAG for Penelope Cruz. And since it is a Michael Mann movie, they kind of want to at least nominate one of this film for at least something, and I think sound will be its best option. Original score, pretty much nothing really that special. I have Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and The Zone of Interest. Now, The Zone of Interest was actually ineligible at the BAFTA, so that's why it was not there. But out of the other ones that are on the Oscar shortlist, you got American Fiction, American Symphony, a documentary that could actually get triple nominated, but I don't think it will make it here. Obviously, Barbie, which I almost considered of going with if BAFTAs did nominated it, which they didn't. The Boy and the Heroine, which could give Joe Hisaishi his first Oscar nomination for his career, but I know a lot of people think that there is a lot more of his other scores he has done for Ghibli that are way better than The Boy and the Heroine, but this is the first time the American awards are finally recognizing him. The Color Purple, no. Elemental, Thomas Newman has been getting a little bit struggling here, but, well, although he is Thomas Newman, but Elemental is not showware. The Holdovers, I'm worried for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, just because it's John Williams. Saltburn, getting that BAFTA nomination, that kind of helped it a little bit higher. Society of the Snow is appeared a lot in the Oscar shortlist, but Michael Giacchino has a struggling deal to get nominated here since his win for Up. Like, since he won for Up, he's been struggling to get his third nomination. Heck, he didn't even make in the shortlist last year for The Batman, which when I listened to that score watching that movie, that was a massive crime. They snubbed them. So yeah, nothing really special. If Barbie did got in at BAFTA, I would have gone with it over here as well. So on to adapted screenplay. I called this. I had freaking called this. If you have seen my Oscar predictions from August all the way through December, I had Barbie here in for adapted screenplay. Because I have stated I wanted to wait till the Academy's confirmation. So I decided because of that pre-existing character rule, I had put Barbie in adapted all season. The Academy confirms it. And I called it. I am so happy I called Barbie to be an adapted screenplay all season because of that pre-existing character rule. Now, it feels like you might know what the 5 is because I have been predicting that lineup since September. So pretty much almost throughout 90% of my predictions, I have been predicting that. Then here comes BAFTA and they throw a little bit of a curveball. And there is a possibility that one of these big major movies might miss a big major nomination here. And I think that's what I think with one of the strong candidates, I think that might happen to Killers of the Flower Moon. Even the BAFTAs showed it up first. And especially with one movie overperforming at BAFTAs, even getting in for director. So for adapted, I have Andrew Haigh for All of Us Strangers, Cord Jefferson for American Fiction, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach for Barbie, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, and Tony McNamara for Poor Things. Yes, I have taken out Eric Roth and Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. After missing at BAFTA, and with All of Us Strangers really doing well, even if they snubbed Andrew Scott for Best Actor, I think All of Us Strangers has to show up somewhere. And I think screenplay is his best option. So, and with Killers missing BAFTAs, that means All of Us Strangers could be in for here for this category. Another one is Jonathan Glazer getting here for The Zone of Interest, but I think that might be more of a directing technical movie instead of a written one. Even though I don't know much how big of a written movie The Zone of Interest is. And Critics' Choice, obviously, with Helen Fern and Craig for Are You Their God? It's Me, Margaret, which could be an inspirational choice. But I don't think that's not going to happen. It could happen at WGA, but then again, we don't know what's going to be eligible or ineligible, and the Writer's Guild's not going to really matter throughout the main season unless, except for the nominations specifically when they come out. So that's why Barbie is, obviously, I've been calling Barbie for adapted. I am very proud to say that. I've been calling that since August, and way to go for me. And with Barbie moving over here to adapted, that means there is one film left that can actually come in. So, original, I feel like this is going to be the 5 that I think it's going to happen on Oscar nominations morning. And they are Justin Triet and Arthur Harari for Anatomy of a Fall, David Hymanson for The Holdovers, Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer for Maestro, Sammy Birch and Alex Mchank for May December, and Celine Song for Past Lives. Last month, I think I did had Sean Durkin in here for The Iron Claw, and I took May December out because somebody stated in their thoughts on May December that it might be a little bit of an FU to the industry of its subject matter. And as you can see, May December really is underperforming in some of the bigger industry awards like at SAG and BAFTA. Like, getting no nominations whatsoever over there. But I think the critics' big support with that at the Globes and Critics' Choice, I think May, December will show up at least here. I think it's going to be a standalone screenplay nod and no acting nominations. This could be also for the Iron Claw to actually show up if that late release really shows a lot of support to it. Air would be a possibility because it is at Critics' Choice as well, but after missing SAG Ensemble, yeah, I don't think that's not going to happen. We just know that the Oscar is now going to be between Anatomy of a Fall and The Holdovers, because I can actually see The Holdovers winning at BAFTA. Unless if Anatomy of a Fall wins at BAFTA, then we know who is at front of the Oscar here. So it's obviously between those two, I would say, at the moment, with Past Lives kind of leaning in the middle. Maestro would not be a big deal. I kind of stated last month it would be like how 1917 getting in this, but you got to keep in mind, the industry is really obsessed with Maestro, although not much at SAG or at DGA, but the BAFTAs did, even if they did not put Maestro in picture, so that's a weird voting process. Next up, the first two of our short film categories, live action short. I have the Anne Frank Gift Shop, Invisible Border, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, which you might know, the latter one is actually directed by Wes Anderson. So, there is a possibility many people think he would actually get snubbed because he is a big profile director in this. Same thing with Pedro Almodovar. He actually has a short on, also on the short list called Strange Way of Life, which I believe it is on Netflix, but not that highly praised compared to The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. The other ones that you see on the short list are The After and Avocado Pit, Benvenidos a Los Angeles, Dead Cat, Good Boy, Invincible, The One Note Man, The Shepherd, and Yellow. Those are the only ones I really kind of did a little bit of research on this because the Anne Frank Gift Shop, that feels like almost like a shoo-in nomination. Almost like a definitely, if Henry Sugar misses, then I think that could be the front runner. Red, White, and Blue was actually the original title for Causeway, by the way. So that's very interesting. But Riz Ahmed got in here 2 years ago and actually won this. Even if Taylor Swift did not get in here last year because her short film missed the short list. Won't go into that, but so if Riz Ahmed can get in and win, maybe Wes Anderson, this could be a chance to actually give him an Oscar. For animated short, I have Boom, Eva, I'm Hip, Letter to a Pig, and 95 Cents. So the other ones that are on the Oscar shortlist are Humu, or Smoke, A Kind of Testament, Coctordo, or Dog Apartment, 95 Cents, Our Uniform, Patchy Dream, Pete, 27, Wild Summon, War is Over, inspired by the music of John and Yoko, which I believe that's the only one that's up in the Annies. And the big one that I decided to give a snub to, Once Upon a Studio. Now, I actually have seen it, and I love Once Upon a Studio. But sometimes, it's kind of hard, because unless if you're Wallace and Gromit, any characters that came from a movie that reappeared again on a short, they're kind of hard to get in. If you're not Wallace and Gromit, because they managed to get in for their A Matter of Loaf and Death short. Yeah, all four of their shorts got in, with the fifth, because even with the fourth one getting in after Curse of the Were-Rabbit was released. It's just difficult for other franchises. Now, I know Pixar actually did this well with Mike's New Car with Monsters, Inc., but it has been a while since that has not happened. I mean, yeah, you could argue with Logorama, the one from 2009, but that was a lot of advertising icons, so that was just awesome. But, like, pre-existing characters from already in movies already that have not gone in, like, obviously the Toy Story tunes did get in, Frozen Fever did not get in, so, unless if you're Wallace and Gromit, now, I know Mickey... Now, like, having in the old days of cartoons, that's a different story. But today's standards is not really that big of an issue. So, and I wonder there might be some voters thinking that since they saw it on television, they think, oh, it should be ruled ineligible. But it did premiere at a festival and it's been running in the theater at the El Capitana and was supposedly to run in front of Wish, but I think some people did not get that. So yeah, and it is now up on YouTube, although I think the sound quality on Disney Plus sounds better than the one on YouTube, I would say. So yeah, I am predicting a big snub here for Once Upon a Studio. So we could see a potentiality, three big major snubs in the short categories, or maybe even four, because War is Over is kind of about John Legend and I believe his wife at the time, Yoko. I forgot the name. And obviously, War is Over means that Happy Christmas song. Supporting actor, man, SAG and BAFTA really made this kind of complicated because although there was one SAG nomination that did make it that I am so glad that he really needed, but they screwed somebody over twice, not just SAG, but also BAFTA, and there was somebody that we thought might underperform, but no, he had appeared everywhere that he's just basically a top 3 lock. So that, for supporting actor, I have Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, Robert De Niro in Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling in Barbie, and after a massive coin flip between Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things and Dominic Sessa in The Holdovers, as you can see, I chose Dominic Sessa. Because The Holdovers really has been doing better, thanks to not just also with Alexander Payne's DGA nomination, but with overperforming at the BAFTAs, really helped that movie. And I think if those branches really have fallen to major industry award impacts as the Oscars, I think that's why they're going to do Dominic Sessa doing the Lucas Hedges scenario, where he does get in for supporting actor. Sterling K. Brown needed that SAG nomination, and after that and the ensemble getting in, that's good for him. So I do think he will get in. So it'll be the first time since the end of the how long has it? When was This Is Us ended? I just want to see because. Let's see, when did it end? I got 2020. So it's just been almost over a year since This Is Us has ended, and he gets his first Oscar nomination. So, okay then. So, as you can see, I did not went with any of the Poor Things dudes, with either Mark Ruffalo or Willem Dafoe, because Ruffalo missed both, and Dafoe missed long list at BAFTA, but got in at SAG. So either they're both going to get in, or they're both going to get out. Or Ruffalo is going to get in, or Dafoe's going to get in. It's going to be 4 options. And I think neither of them are going to get in. So there could be a possibility that they're going to split a lot of votes. And I think with the industry support with Dominic Sessa is kind of showing stronger a bit. And I think people are making up De Niro for him not getting in for actor for The Irishman, I think is the reason why he's there. Regardless, Robert Downey Jr. and Ryan Gosling are not going anywhere. And for Charles Melton, I'm sorry, as much as he was a big critic sweeper, unless if he does comes in like Brian Tyree Henry, where he only gets, although Melton did got Globe and Critics' Choice, but only 2 Critics Industry Awards, and just gets the Oscar nomination. But I think May December is going to be a lone screenplay nomination. And I think I forgot to mention, I think I also don't have Julianne Moore for supporting actress. Now we're coming into what everyone's least favorite category is, because this is more of like ABC's in charge of the category. Best Original Song, because they want the ratings. I have The Fire Inside from Flaming Hot, I'm Just Ken from Barbie, It Never Went Away from American Symphony, Road to Freedom from Rustin, and What Was I Made For from Barbie. Pretty much what almost everyone is going for here, because as we know, I'm Just Ken and What Was I Made For are obviously battling it out between the Globes and Critics' Choice. And for those who don't know, there is a rule where, although films are allowed to submit 5 songs if they have 5 original songs, 3 of them can get on the short list, which Dance the Night did as well, but only 2 can get in. So that's why Dua Lipa will not become an Oscar nomination, and it's basically going to be a battle between Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell, and Mark Ronson and Andrew Wyatt. So Billie and Phineas will competing against Mark for their second Oscars, with Andrew on Mark's side. John Batiste, American Symphony, obviously, it has showed up big in the shortlist, not just also an original score, but also here an original song, and I think song's going to be the more likely one as well. And Road to Freedom, other than I'm Just Ken, What Was I Made For, it appeared everywhere else, and after Lenny Kravitz doing the In Memoriam segment last year, I think he will be back again. And obviously, the reason everyone's going with The Fire Inside from Flaming Hot is because it is the automatic slot, reserved spot for Diane Warren. Just so they can have her do a reaction video and get upset when she loses. Because you know for a fact she's going to be goddamn last when these nominations are going to be coming up. Because no one really cares about Flaming Hot. Because a lot of people thought 80 for Brady, she was going to be the one getting in. But nope, The Fire Inside was the one they chose. All the other ones that are on the Oscar shortlist, you obviously have Superpower 1 from The Color Purple, Can't Catch Me Now from The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So if ABC are demanding the branch to get Olivia Rodrigo perform, maybe. Wajaje, A Song for My People, which that could also show an overperformance for Killers of the Flower Moon. Past Lives might get support for Quiet Eyes. I don't think so. Or Am I Dreaming for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now, if they did really want inspired, if they really did want to do inspired, hiring the nominations, kind of like how we saw Not to shows of an on-screen performance, there could be a total of 5. There were actually 5 on-screen performances that are on the short list that they could actually go with. I'm talking about they could go inspire and go with Dear Alien, Who Art in Heaven from Asteroid City. Of course, I'm Just Ken. Both High Life and Meet in the Middle from Flora and Son, and Keep It Moving from The Color Purple. If they went with Dear Alien, I'm Just Ken, and Keep It Moving, and both songs from Flora and Son, that's going to really bring highlights, because they're all on-screen performances. With 2 of them, I believe, being musical numbers. I don't know about Dear Alien, but Dear Alien would be like when the song When a Cowboy Trades His Spurs for Wings from the Ballad of Buster Scruggs sitting in there. If that gets in, I will laugh. Because that, like, when I first listened to that out of context, I was just like, okay then. So yeah, I've listened to all of these songs, and Dance of the Night was the one that stood out to me the most in the beginning, but I kind of see where Road to Freedom or What Was I Made For kind of sounding better. I'm Just Ken. Well, I might have to see the movie to be understanding that, but of course I won't be watching that movie until after the season for my marathon. So basically, you got your 2 Barbie songs, you got Lenny Kravitz, you got John Batiste, and the reserved spot for Diane Warren. Documentary feature. Now, for almost the past few years, this has been my worst category throughout the remaining half of the 2010 decade, and I even got 1 out of 5 in 2020. The past 2 years, I got in regress. I got in 3 out of 5 in 2021, and last year, 4 out of 5. This could be the 5. I really could be confident. If this is the 5, I would probably say my documentary feature curse is broken. Or if I get 4 out of 5, that would not be mine. Because we all know for a fact what's going to miss here, because it is the high-profile one. For documentary, I have American Symphony, Beyond Utopia, 4 Daughters, Going to Mars, The Nikki Giovanni Project, and 20 Days in Mariupol. So yep, still a Michael J. Fox movie, even if it won the Critics' Choice for the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, and getting in, I believe, at PGA and at BAFTA. It is still a popular subject matter. It is a high-profile one, and that's not going to happen, because they don't do that. You could say Beyond Utopia is one, but it's not really a big popular movie compared to Still. So that's why I was a bit hesitant to not go with it, but then making it both at DGA and BAFTA, I'm kind of fine with. American Symphony obviously showed up on the short list. 20 Days in Mariupol, most likely a double-digit nomination. 4 Daughters could also be as well, but with that and Going to Mars, the Nikki Giovanni Project, those 2 documentaries both got in at the Independent Spirit Awards. And if you basically get a Spirit Award nomination, you're basically good for an Oscar nomination. So that's why I went with both 4 Daughters and Going to Mars in there. So one I am almost considered putting in almost at the last minute was Bobby Wine, The People's President, because not also it showed up at DGA, but debuted by a British writer, director, and producer of the BAFTAs, although for some reason that did not show up in the documentary feature long list over there. So DGA is the only support for Bobby Wine, so I think it's kind of stuck in the 6th spot with Still in the 7th. If Still gets in here, I think we might see it winning here. The other ones, obviously, that are on the Oscar shortlist are Apollonia, Desperate Souls, Dark City and the Legend of Midnight Cowboy, which is actually about the Best Picture winner of 1969, but I don't know if that would be something, because it's rare that the documentary branch would nominate a documentary film about movie making, or the movie industry in general, so it's extremely rare for that. You had The Eternal Memory, which I believe is from the woman that did The Mole Agent, which got in here. In the rear view, another documentary about the Russian-Ukrainian war, so there is a possibility. Stamped from the Beginning, I believe that's Netflix. A Still Small Voice, I believe that's about voice. 32 Sounds is about sound making, and To Kill a Tiger is set in India, which sometimes documentaries set around India do well here, like the Writing with Fire did 2 years ago, but that has not showed up anywhere, so. And 20 Days in Mariupol could be our Oscar frontrunner here because of the recent subject matter. Time to wrap up the short films with documentary short. almost pretty much almost the first half of the alphabet, which I might get only 1 out of 5 probably, but some of these titles could tell us something. I have the ABCs of book banning, Black Girls Play, The Story of Hand Games, Camp Courage, I believe that's also a Russian-Ukrainian war documentary, Deciding Vote, and If Dreams Were Lighting, Rural Healthcare Crisis. So if you basically have a colon, you're basically good for an Oscar nomination. The other ones that are on the Oscar shortlist are The Barber of Little Rock, which I did had but took it out, Bear, Between Earth and Sky, How We Get Freed, Island Between, The Last Repair Shop, which that's also a possibility, Last Song in Kabul, another possibility, 9-9 and Wapo, Oasis, and Wings of Dust. I don't know much about it, but I feel like the two with the colons here with Black Girls Play and If Dreams Were Lighting are probably the two to go with. For Best International Feature, I have Fallen Leaves from Finland, The Monk and the Gun from Bhutan, Society of the Snow from Spain, 20 Days in Mariupol from Ukraine, and The Zone of Interest from the United Kingdom. We know The Zone of Interest is our Oscar frontrunner because Anatomy of Fall was not France's submission, and even if it has a majority of English in the movie, it could have been ruled ineligible. 20 Days in Mariupol, out of the 2 documentaries that are both double nominated with that and 4 Days, I think 20 Days in Mariupol is going to be the more likely one. Even if Four Daughters is from the woman that did The Man Who Sold His Skin, which actually got nominated back in 2020. Society of the Snow, Netflix is really doing big. It's been doing well streaming-wise on Netflix, and it is from J.A. Bayona. Fallen Leaves getting that Best Actress nomination of the Globe shows a little support. Now, the massive question is, who is going to be this year's A Hero and this year's Decision to Leave? There's a lot of possibilities. I almost considered about Society of the Snow, but it appears a lot in the Oscar shortlist, but didn't on the BAFTA long list, though. But I think it's definitely either the runner-up, most likely the runner-up behind 20 Days in Mariupol for, in front of 20 Days in Mariupol for the international category. But then the others in the shortlist, you got Armenia could get their first nomination with Amerikatsi. You got Denmark with The Promised Land with Mads Mikkelsen. France's The Taste of Things. Germany's The Teacher's Lounge. Iceland's Godland, which could be a possibility because the Janus Films has been doing well here with Drive My Car and EO. And I know it's now available on the Criterion Collection Janus Contemporary, so most likely I'll be watching that if it does not get nominated. Il Capitano from Italy was at the Golden Globes. Perfect Days from Japan, I think, could be a big miss, but it has been a very late release, even if it has Wim Wenders as the director behind it, although we know for a fact the directors are not the nominations here in this category. Totem from Mexico is a possibility because the director just did a Criterion Closet video not too long ago. The Mother of All Lies is interesting and did not get in documentary feature, but still made it in here, especially getting in a PGA and Indie Spirit, so there's a possibility that might show up here. But it's a completely different voting body, so that's one thing. So, and obviously, I think I did mention this, The Monk and the Gun is actually from the guy who did Lunana, A Yak in the Classroom, Pao Ching-dori. So, that's why I think The Monk and the Gun will be the one that comes in out of nowhere, like his previous film and EO did. So, who's going to be this year's Decision to Leave? Probably The Taste of Things, probably Perfect Days, but we're not going to be sure yet. Unless if it is going to be Society of the Snow, or Fallen Leaves, that's going to really depend on that. So, it's just regardless, the Zone of Interest is staying, and I think Ukraine is finally going to get their first nomination here. Best Animated Feature, oh boy. I think we know what the 4 are getting in, but the question is, who's that 5th slot? I have The Boy and the Heroine, Elemental, Ernest and Celestine, A Trip to Jaipurita, Nimona, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So, we know that the 2 are staying are Spider-Man and Boy and the Heroine. They appeared everywhere. Nimona did well at the Annies, getting the most nominations, so I think that's good. And Elemental getting that BAFTA nomination really helped it out. So, the 5th slot was going to be optional, because I was not going to be saying Wish or the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is a possibility, but here's the thing. Movies based on animated shows don't usually get nominated. Animated films specifically. The Simpsons movie didn't, the SpongeBob movies didn't, the Bob's Burgers movie didn't, not even the Paw Patrol the movie, guarantee not even its sequel, it's not going to happen. So there is also a couple of possibilities for another indie slot. There is Suzume, which actually did appear both at the Annies and the Globes. You got Perlimps, which I know a lot of people don't know about this, but that's from the guy that did Boy in the World back in 2015, a Brazilian one, so I would not be surprised if he does make it on here. But I chose Ernest and Celestine: A Trip to Jaburita because the first film got in, and it is very ironic that an independent animated film actually got a sequel, which is very unique. Now, I know G-Kids is going to high prioritize more on the boy and the heroine, but if some members of the voting branch would say, oh wait, there's a sequel to Ernest and Celestine, and they loved it that much, they'll most likely nominated it. So that's why I'm going with a surprise curveball and saying they're going to nominate the Ernest and Celestine sequel. Because I remembered I originally predicted last year, not for the final one, but before it was confirmed it was coming out to the US this year, past year specifically. So that's why it's qualified for this year instead of its original release back in France in 2022. So it's technically a 2023 movie for North America. Makeup and hairstyling, I have Golda, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Obviously, this is one of the categories Barbie will not be getting in, because the other ones in the shortlist that I didn't mention are Beau is Afraid, Ferrari, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, Napoleon, and Society of the Snow. I almost said Nimona there for a second. But here's the thing. Obviously, they don't really go big on horror movies, because if they didn't win with Crimes of the Future, I don't think Beau is Afraid or The Last Voyage of the Demeter won't get in. Napoleon's a possibility. I don't think Society of the Snow is not going to get nominated anywhere else other than international feature. So Napoleon and Ferrari are kind of the outskirts here, but I think Napoleon could be the one that might take over like something like Golda or something like that. Or maybe even Killers, but I think they're going to probably be lazy and go with Killers of the Flower Moon. On to production design, and I think this is actually going to match the BAFTAs. I have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. I don't think there's any much major competition, I would say, in this category. Now we're coming into film editing, and I already had predicted a snub here because there has to be at least one movie that might underperform a little bit in one of the categories. So I already gave Killers of the Flower Moon a big snub for adapted screenplay, but I gave another film a big snub here for film editing. I have Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Oppenheimer. I have decided to take out Poor Things, because Anatomy of a Fall has been showing stronger and stronger in this category. Barbie, Killers, and Oppenheimer are not going anywhere, and I think since I don't have The Holdovers, heads up, don't have it in for director, I think the best option for The Holdovers to get, if showing how much love that the actual Academy really loves this movie, it's for editing. And sometimes they really do love to go with their comedy sometimes. And sometimes there could be, like, even a movie that comes in out of nowhere and comes in, like, if American Fiction comes in, kind of like how Tar did last year. So sometimes they might not go something big here, and I think Poor Things is going to be a big miss. I also think The Zone of Interest won't make it. Possibility many people might want to take Killers out, but they love Thelma Schoonmaker. And the thing is, for those longtime viewers who've been watching my content almost since Oscar nomination prediction for the films of 2019, I really bet against The Irishman. Because I predicted only for picture, 2 supporting actor nominations for Pacino and Pesci and adapted screenplay. I snubbed it for director, I snubbed it for editing, and pretty much all the technical categories, and it got 10 nominations. And I was like, never doing that again. Because you know there's going to be old members of the Academy that are going to really love Killers of the Flower Moon. So, yeah, betting against Thelma Schoonmaker is not a good idea. So that's why she's staying in. Although she did miss for The Wolf of Wall Street, but I think if this is the 5, I think that could happen, and I think Poor Things is going to be the big miss here. For cinematography, I think this is also the BAFTA lineup, if I'm remembering. I have Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. So yeah, Barbie, not really going to happen, because you're not going to see Rodrigo Prieto getting double nominated, because Killers is definitely going to be his more likely one, even though Barbie is the more colorful one, but I think Killers is going to be the more cinematic one. I don't think there's really much any major precursors here in this category left. There actually are 2. Society of the Snow and El Conde. El Conde actually made it into the guilds. It's interesting because Chile did not submit it for the international feature category, and that's Pablo Larraín's film. So it is a possibility, but I think the black and white have already covered with Maestro and Oppenheimer. And Society of the Snow maybe, because although I don't have it anywhere else, this could be a possibility where this might show up. But The Zone of Interest is going to be the strong non-English film in this. But then again, we saw Cold War, Never Look Away, and Roma, 3 non-English films, all in cinematography back in 2018. So that could be a possibility where we could see 2 or maybe even 3 of them if they want to oversnub like Killers or Poor Things. Because Oppenheimer is staying, or maybe even Maestro, because it's just like Oppenheimer is staying and then The Zone of Interest is most likely staying. Our last one in the technical categories here, and that is Best Visual Effects. I think pretty much everyone almost has this similarly here, and I think we're all going with, unless if I'm correcting here, The Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Poor Things, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. So if you're not counting the live-action remake of The Lion King, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse would be the 3rd animated film to get nominated for visual effects after The Nightmare Before Christmas and Kubo and the Two Strings. Godzilla -1 is pretty much a definitely lock. The Creator is definitely locked. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is most likely the only superhero nomination that's going to be getting... only live-action superhero movie to get nominated, because we see Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse here. Poor Things, definitely more the Best Picture-y nominated one. I would not be surprised if it actually wins just because it's the only one that's up for Best Picture, but they could go something out like with The Creator or Godzilla or Spider-Verse, but it's going to be difficult because Spider-Verse did miss at BAFTA. And Oppenheimer won Critics' Choice, so... Wow, and the ones that aren't in the Oscar shortlist, you also have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Napoleon, Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, and Society of the Snow. Indiana Jones and Mission Impossible and Napoleon both got in at BAFTA, but I think a lot of people know, especially with Mission Impossible, I heard a lot of complaints of green screens that were actually seen. Same thing with Napoleon, and no way Rebel Moon's going to get in. Otherwise, the Zack Snyder fan base is going to go all over it. This could be the one category Society of the Snow might actually appear, but I think Poor Things is going to be in its position. Now we're into the top 4. We have done all the technical categories, done both screenplays and the supporting categories, the featured films and the shorts. Now the top 4. The leading categories, director and best picture. And best actor, I think we all know where we're going at. The SAG lineup. Bradley Cooper in Maestro, Coleman Domingo in Rustin, Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy in Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright in American Fiction. The fact that Coleman Domingo managed to get in at BAFTA, that just shows he's staying here. And with Andrew Scott missing, that just shows Domingo's more stronger than him. And with DiCaprio missing both BAFTA and SAG, he's not going to happen. Unless if he does, that would be kind of a shocking surprise. What we just know is that Giamatti, Murphy are staying. Cooper and Wright are definitely staying. Domingo's just stuck in the 5th spot, but at least it does have another nomination. The movie does have another nomination to go inside with it, and that's the original song category. So, yeah, so basically all 4, with the exception of Jeffrey Wright, who missed BAFTA, but then again, they were not big on American Fiction because it was called American Fiction, because it is centered around America, because that's not a British thing. Cooper, Domingo, Giamatti, and Murphy had all appeared everywhere else. So, I think this is going to be the 5. And for Best Actress, I think now we all know what's going to be happening here. It's going to be Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall, so she will be most likely getting double digits on 2 nominations on the same day, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, Margot Robbie in Barbie, and Emma Stone in Poor Things. So, the SAG Ensemble nomination at BAFTA shows that even we all thought, since she's going to get nominated for Best Picture, there's no way they're going to nominate Robbie for Best Actress. Nope. Everyone's been going with her, so she has appeared everywhere else with Mulligan and Emma Stone. Gladstone missing BAFTA was a big snub right there. That was a big hit that does shows that Emma Stone is on the way to get her 2nd Oscar, which, as much as Gladstone's story is going to be in these, but I just really can't wait to see what Stone does with Poor Things, because I loved her in La La Land and The Favorite, so I just really can't wait to see her get a 2nd Oscar. I just can't wait for that. So yeah, unfortunately, Greta Lee is pretty much done. Although it's ironic that Teo Yo got in for Best Actor at BAFTA, which I actually did predict it last month, but I took him out after when Domingo got in. So yeah, I think this is going to be the 5. I feel like we're pretty much solidified with actor and actress. It's just the supporting categories are going to be questioning, is it going to be a 5 out of, if we're going to get 5 out of 5s or not. So it's just actor and actress are pretty much, we know what is the top 5. For Best Director, so this was a bit of a massive difficulty thing here. But I think, if I'm correct looking at this, I think I decided to keep it from where it was last month, if I'm remembering this correctly. I have Greta Gerwig for Barbie, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Justin Triet is definitely on that urge of taking one of these people's spots, because we could see 2 international films getting in here like Cold War and Roma did. Although you could be saying that with Anatomy of a Fall, because that's could be more of a primarily English movie. But it just really depends on that. So, here's the thing. Alexander Payne is also another scary threat. But here's the thing. I almost put Payne in, and I was thinking, oh, maybe Greta Gerwig could be Denis Villeneuve. And then when I was looking at the list, I was thinking, okay, Justin Triet. But then I think, okay, maybe they're going to really overperform The Zone of Interest. Because here's the thing. Justin Triet is most likely going to get in for Best Original Screenplay. So if they do want to nominate Glazer, unless Zone of Interest gets in for Adapted, director's probably the best option for him to get in. Because Triet's most likely going to get in for Original Screenplay. Because, of course, Glazer's not going to be the nomination for the international category. That's going to be for the UK. So, and then when I was almost thinking, the question is, are they going to not nominate any woman in director? Are they going to snub Gerwig, Triet, and Celine Song for Past Lives? I don't think that's not going to happen, and Gerwig has to be in here, even if she did miss BAFTA, because I think it's ironic Barbie did perform better getting Gosling, Robbie, and the script in, but it's not more of a big American thing compared to a big British thing. So, that's why I had to stick Barbie in here. Yorgos, I think, even if he missed at BAFTA, same thing with Scorsese, I think, because here's the thing. 4 of them are in DGA, 1 of them is not. And I think Payne is probably going to be the one that's going to go. Unless if he gets in here, he's either going to take out Gerwig, Scorsese, or Lanthimos. Maybe even Glazer. Because we don't know, because this is going to be the most difficult one, because the only person that is not going anywhere is Christopher Nolan, because he's the only one that got everything. He is 100% locked, and basically his award to lose. So that's the easiest one. It's just which one of the 4 is going to go, if Justin Triet or Alexander Payne are going to come in. Bradley Cooper, maybe, even for Maestro. Even if he missed at DGA, he got in at BAFTA. Celine Song obviously has the Golden Globe, but she's stuck in the 9th. And Cord Jefferson for American Fiction, he's stuck in the 10th position. And if you have catch my little intro there, I kind of spoiled the Best Picture lineup, but I think everyone pretty much now knows what it is. This could be the first time ever the Oscars are going to match the 10 that were nominated at the Producers Guild. And they are, of course, American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. These are the 10 that are most likely going to get in. If there is any movie that could come in slipping in, it would have to be The Color Purple because of its SAG Ensemble nomination. There's pretty much no other competition with just maybe The Color Purple. That's it. This is the 10, and that is going to be the 10. And before I wrap up this video, kind of like I did last year, and I think the year prior, I will be reviewing you guys what I think will get at least the most my predictions for the most nominations. So, going from bottom to top, I have American Symphony, The Color Purple, Past Lives, going the women talking scenario, Rustin, and 20 Days in Mariupol getting in 2. Then Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse getting in 3, which I think that could be a massive redeemer to get an animated film at least nominated for at least 3 Oscars again after what happened last year when none animated films got nominated outside of their own category. So yeah, I have Spider-Verse getting in for 3. Then behind American Fiction and Anatomy of a Fall with 4, The Holdovers with 6, Maestro with 7th, The Zone of Interest with 8, Barbie with 9, so I did not give Barbie a double-digit nomination, Poor Things with 10, Killers of the Flower Moon with 11, but I think we all know Oppenheimer is going to get nominated for pretty much everything it could get up for with 13. So I think that's basically it. I think Oppenheimer is going to lead the nominations. And I have that, Killers of the Flower Moon and Poor Things getting double digits, with Barbie missing one nomination to get that double-digit slot. So with that said, that is my official Oscar nomination predictions. And now Tuesday is about to go into it. A pretty late reaction because it will probably not be up till nighttime because IRL stuff will have to make me wait until later in the evening to get my reaction to the official Oscar nominations this Tuesday.